I'm Reed, and this is Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania. As I've recorded more videos, I've started to think about what I really want to do with this channel. And one of the things I want to do is tell stories. All of my guitars, my gear, my pedals, there's a story involved with all of them. You could go to a lot of places and see pedal demos. I'm going to relate what those pedals mean to me, what the guitars mean to me. And I'm going to tell stories. And this video, I'm calling the first of my Man Cave Musings videos, and it's all story. So if you don't want to just listen to a guy talk, maybe wait until the next video. Today I want to talk about education and how education can shape you as a musician, as a guitar player. I never call myself a musician. I say I'm a guy who plays guitar. Because I enjoy playing guitar, but to me a musician is somebody that you can call out a chord pattern and a tempo and they can just, rip into it, and I am not that player. So here's a bit of my journey as a man cave guitarist. When I first started playing guitar, I decided I needed lessons. So I went to Mars Music. Anyone remember them? Mars Music. I think they went out of business a year later. Probably not related to me taking lessons there. But I went and I signed up for group lessons. And I took 3 or 4 group lessons. The teacher was he was a great guitar player, but he was not a great teacher. And he kept soliciting people to take his individual lessons. Like, the group lessons, just a bunch of stuff. If you really want the good stuff, come and take my individual lessons. And that annoyed me so much that I stopped going after about 4 lessons and just never went back. But I did not lose the desire to learn how to play guitar. So I sought out a different teacher, and I was lucky enough to find a man named Speedy. Gary Speedy West Jr. was a fixture in the Oklahoma City music scene from the 1980s. He played in a band called Maya, which owned Oklahoma City in the 1980s. They never made it big nationally, sadly. And Gary was the best bar player I ever met. He could play rock, he could play blues, he could play country, and he played pedal steel guitar probably better than he played guitar. Now, Speedy West Sr. was, among other things, Bing Crosby's pedal steel player. He was at one time the most recorded man in Hollywood, and he made some absolutely fabulous albums with a jazz player named Jimmy Bryant, who was one of the early adopters of solid body electric guitars. Look up Swingin' on the Strings by Speedy West and Jimmy Bryant. I'll put a link to that in the description if I can find one on Amazon or something. Mind-blowing stuff. Especially if you grew up thinking that Eddie Van Halen was the first fast guitar player out there. Now, Speedy, because he was a bar player, he had his own music, but what he mostly did was play other people's music. And the way he taught was very particular. You would bring him a song, and every week he would teach you that song, and he would teach it to your level. So perhaps you're playing a song that's all in sevenths, and maybe you don't know what a 7th chord is, so he would just teach you the major chord, or he would teach you a bar chord, or he would teach you a power chord, but enough that you could get through the song. And once you had that, then maybe he'd teach you a simplified version of the solo. And that was fantastic because it kept me interested. It kept me going back week after week. Well, what about this song? What about that song? And he would be like, well, this song is in drop D. I didn't know what drop D tuning was. If you don't know anything about music, you don't know what drop D tuning is, or, that people tune their guitars down a half step, or sometimes they tune to open chords. That was all new to me. What he was not good at was explaining technical things. Speedy taught me how to play the pentatonic scale in one position. He didn't teach me that there were 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. He taught me a single finger picking pattern. He just said, here, I use this finger picking pattern for everything. And to this day, 20 years later, I can do that finger picking pattern. It turns out to be a simple banjo roll, is what they call it. And I can't do any other finger picking pattern. I asked him to, hey, I started hearing about these modes. What's going on there? And he tried to explain scales to me, but I just didn't get it. What he did was explain songs. Now, taking lessons with him, again, that was perfect for me because what I enjoy doing as a man cave player is to play along with music. I just want to, go to my iPod. Anybody else still use those? Anyway, I turn on my iPod and I pick a song and I learn the chords and I just start jamming along with it. And I enjoy that more than anything. And there's always another song to learn. And over the years, my ear has gotten better and better at picking out what other musicians are doing with their music. But what I haven't become is a particularly proficient technical guitarist. So now, 20 years later, I've gone back to start taking lessons again. And this time, I went to a website called TrueFire. They're a really commonly known instructional website. And they were pushing these things called instructor channels, which actually I wasn't really impressed with. But through the instructor channels, I met a guy that has been a phenomenal teacher for me, a man named Rob Garland. He's from England, and he's an instructor at Musicians Institute now in Los Angeles, and he is stupidly overqualified to be my teacher. But the lessons are fun. He was able to assess where my playing was, and now he started taking me in a more technical direction. He taught me the Dorian scale. Yes, I've been playing for 20 years and didn't know what the Dorian scale was. We got into the Mixolydian scale. Now we're combining the Dorian and Mixolydian scales. I couldn't do any of this 6 months ago. Now, a limitation that has given me as a YouTube player is because I mostly play along to other people's music, I can't really do that on YouTube. I don't want to be playing copyrighted music and get copyright infringement violations. So I'm going to do very limited noodling because I'm just not a noodler. And maybe as I go, I'll get better. There are a couple of YouTubers out there, like Danish Pete Honore at Andertons in the UK. I'll put a link to his channel below. Pete Honore can just takes his looper, plays a chord progression, and then endlessly solo over it, and it sounds phenomenal. I'm not that guy. Another favorite of mine is Pete Thorn. Pete records like a minute of music for all of his pedal demos, which I think if you added up all of the minutes of music he's done for these pedal videos, he would be one of the most prolific guitar musicians out there, even though he only has 2 solo albums, which I recommend, by the way, if you like high-octane rock guitar playing. Pete's a fantastic player. And he's interesting to listen to. But I'm not that guy either, because I don't really have something in mind for what I want to do with music. I just like jamming along to other people's music, and there's nothing wrong with that. Late in life, I got with a couple of other man cave musicians, and we formed a little trio. I'm on guitar and vocals, I have a drummer, and I have a bass player, and those guys sing some too. And every year, I put on a concert for some of my friends, and we have a blast doing that. And every year I learn new songs, and the show gets longer, and we get a little tighter as a band, and it just keeps you going. So, if I was going to have a message with this, there's really 2. 1, never stop learning. The guitar is such a phenomenal instrument, and music is such an incredibly broad thing. You can endlessly learn new music. You can learn new things, and learning new things will keep you going. If you just do the same thing over and over again, you'll get bored with it. So even like in my case, where I'm just playing along to other people's music, I'm always buying new music. And the very first thing I do when I hear a new song is go, can I play that? And if I can play it, I'm instantly more interested in it. And I know I'm going to get around to it because I've got 25,000 songs in my iPod, and it's going to take me a while to work my way around to all of them, which is wonderful. The other thing, find a teacher that's going to teach you what you want to know. In my case, I didn't know specifically what I wanted, but I know I enjoy rock music. If I had gone to a teacher and they were like, I'm going to teach you jazz, that would not have done me any good. not have anything against jazz. Jazz is fantastic music, but I'm not a jazz musician. I don't want to be a jazz musician. I'm not a funk musician. I like rock. I just want to play rock. When I started, it seemed that most new man cave guitarists wanted to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. Somebody coined the term Stevie Ray Vaughannabe. Not really sure why. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, but I never wanted to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. And that has held me back a little bit. If you don't have a specific goal, well, you can't achieve it. So I've just tried to become a jack of all trades in the rock world. And I'm getting better and better. My latest thing, I'm finally learning how to noodle around a little bit. I played a little bit of noodling on a previous video, and probably as my lessons progress, I'll do more noodling on these videos. But for now, I'm going to keep my sound clips very simple and try and put in as many stories as I can, and that is my journey as a man cave guitarist. So I'll put some links in the descriptions below just for people that I've mentioned in this video. Thank you for joining me for this part of my journey, Man Cave Musings. I've been Reed, and this is Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania, soon to feature actual guitar pedals.